For the latest film interviews, reviews, and everything making news in pop culture, subscribe to Film Companion now.
Hey everyone, welcome to Film Companion. I'm Ruhan Shah, and today I'll be reviewing Christopher Nolan's latest film, Tenet. A majority of Christopher Nolan's films are about his protagonists trying to grapple with a reality that's out of their control. In Inception, Cobb lost his wife and cannot return to his children. Interstellar has Cooper trying to find an alternative to Earth, and in the Dark Knight trilogy, Bruce Wayne fights both his inner and real demons. The common thread is that they are all men shackled to an indeterminate universe. Fundamentally, Tenet is a retread of those ideas. The only difference here, however, is that this one is a soulless and deafening mania of time fetishism. Tenet is clearly Christopher Nolan's most self-indulgent film. It is what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was to Tarantino and The Irishman to Scorsese. There is a lot to say about filmmakers who are fascinated by their own style of work. Without revealing too many details, here we have an unnamed protagonist played by John David Washington navigating this obtuse realm of time in order to prevent the world from experiencing a war that already took place in the future. It's essentially an Asimovian spin to the Bond and Bond genre of espionage. Nolan alternates between exposition and let me riddle your brain moments far too often. His obsession with time exists beyond the confines of the story. Everything moves extremely swiftly. If you blink your eye even for a second, you may miss an entire conversation. In all fairness, however, Tenet is one of Nolan's most impressive ideas. Ignoring the pseudo-scientific babble, this film massively deals with time looping and inversion, like the Escher-esque Mobius strip that you may remember from Endgame. The problem though arises when you realize that Nolan is a tad too delighted by this idea. He sacrifices effective and structured storytelling on the altar of scientific exhibitionism. After a point, it only comes off as intellectual grandstanding. Basically, all sizzle, no steak. At the core of every film he has made, there has been a strong emotional layer attached to it. He's been able to surgically graft every over-the-top saga of his with primal human desires and emotions. But here, even the ingeniousness of Tenet is not enough to salvage the debilitating lack of it. The emotions in the film are ice cold, and for Nolan, this can only be classified as pure narrative neglect, one that you cannot overlook despite all of Tenet's cinematic panache. His attempt to fill that emotional void, though, is at best unremarkable and at worst phony. This is where Elizabeth Debicki's character Kat comes in, the aristocratic, money-clad damsel in distress whom you're supposed to feel sad for. I'd much rather have Nolan own up to his lack of zest here than have him conceal it with wishy-washy feminism. This sadly is not the end of Tenet's drabness. After its high-octane opening sequence and a masterfully choreographed fight scene where we are officially introduced to time inversion, the film falls flat for over an hour. I started growing restless and wary. None of Washington's espionage hijinks have the high you'd expect in a Nolan film. Tenet at this point is a cautionary tale about how flash, style, and silver-tongued cocksureness alone just won't cut it anymore. This also has to do with the fact that Nolan did not even bother to develop his gratuitously violent, ammunition-savvy antagonist Andre Sator, played by Kenneth Branagh.
How would you like to die? Old.
Sator, who always has a scowl on his face, terrorizes his wife Kat and with her the rest of the world with his nuclear wheeling and dealing. Nolan doesn't get to Sator's bad guy motives until the climax, leaving us high and dry throughout the film. However, Washington and Robert Pattinson, who plays Neil, another secret agent, galvanize their suave, debonair characters with absolute ease, carrying parts of the films that they're not even supposed to. In one scene, as he strode across a covert facility, holding a cup of espresso in one hand and a suitcase in another, Washington perfected the ideal masculine image. Not too macho, not too smug. And even Pattinson, with his seductively slicked hair and attenuated gestures, easily goes down as one of Hollywood's most charismatic actors. Together they make a snappy and dazzling team. I wouldn't even mind seeing a miniseries just on their homoerotic chemistry either. Even Dimple Kapadia as a silent industrialist plays a role with great poise and elegance. Tenet's cinematic glamour would make you believe that Nolan was just warming up with Inception and Dunkirk. The cinematography coupled with a formidable production design makes this for a delirious and wild ride. The film's 12 visual components, the architecture and its shots portrayed a futuristic yet grim look of this world. What did throw me off, however, was its unsparingly loud sound mixing. You will leave the film in immediate search for cochlear implants. The extent to which you enjoy Tenet will largely depend on your priorities. While the story lacks the heft to carry an overwrought narrative, the film does deserve a watch solely for Christopher Nolan's audacity and ambition. You can watch Tenet in the theatres if you feel comfortable doing so. Thank you so much.